Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the R&D show. We're your hosts. I'm Shad,
Hey, I'm Ryan.
and you tune in once again to the R&D show. We have to come back in here. And
Yeah, you were so serious. That's why I was laughing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I was like, what? Okay.
Because we jumping right back in here and giving y'all another video. Want to do some hot topics real fast, and we're going to start off with the teacher that, and you probably don't know this story, but the teacher who allowed his students to unbraid his hair to so let me give you a little background. So it's a black male teacher. He is a content creator as well, and majority of his content he creates in the classroom, you know what I mean? And he gives like these different scenarios, and there's a lot of playful things that are happening. And sometimes his students are seen, sometimes he covers their faces. But it's something that his school is also aware of, that he's a content creator, and he uses his classroom and his interaction with his students to provide content, which I will say a lot of teachers do. If you go on to TikTok, there's a teacher side of TikTok where teachers do, they're being content creators within their classroom. Mm-hmm. And so in this particular video, he has 3 students, these are middle schoolers, and they're using a comb to unbraid his hair, to take his hair down because his hair was braided, because he's running late for an appointment, and he said he wasn't gonna have time to take it all down and get to his appointment on the end time. So of course he came up with, an idea of, let's see who may want to help me take my hair down, but it'll be the end of the school day. All of their work has to be done. That gets permission from their teachers, and pretty much just volunteer to want to do it. Now, it's clear that the relationship that he has with his students and these particular girls is one of like, I want to say older brother, sister type of relationship, even though he is their teacher. So the video went viral, and the viral video is him explaining, okay, pretty much let's stir the pot a little bit. I got backlash for this. People have this to say. And he's kind of explaining why he did what he did. And people have literally ripped this video into shreds. When I tell you the backlash has been so tough, the comments have been harsh. Mm-hmm. What I do not appreciate and I do not like is our culture, because I'm going to speak for our culture because this is the culture that I'm a part of, the Black culture, right? We are so quick to make an innocent moment become now a moment that is sexualized, a moment that is now, oh, he's a pedophile, a moment that becomes uncomfortable, as if what he has done is the lowest, is the most demeaning, is very dangerous, is hurtful, and people will create these different narratives to try to justify why him allowing these girls to take his hair down with a comb is a violation, is crossing boundaries, is pretty much once again playing with fire.
Yeah, people always gonna have something to say, and people are always gonna try to put people down to make themselves feel better, to make their lives more interesting. I haven't seen the video, but it seems very innocent. I feel like if it was something that was nefarious, then he wouldn't have posted it. But obviously it was something that was really innocent in what it was. And these kids, they have a special type of relationship. Instead of just embracing it and uplifting him, they appear to be tearing him down. And we as a society are so quick to jump and tear anybody down. It's instead of just trying to take a step back and just really reflect and understand like what's really happening here, and also just thinking about the energy I'm putting out there. How is that serving the broader world? How is that helping the broader world? And it's just the society we live in. People just jump on something, ride it, have very little context, and just go. Don't even have very little context and just and just go hard to make themselves feel better.
But to sexualize that, because we live in such an overly sexual world now, everything is overly sexualized. And so we have to immediately associate this moment into, these are girls whose hormones could be rushing, and now you got them playing in your hair, but they're not even playing in his hair. They're literally taking his hair down with combs.
Yeah. But that's us putting a lot of what the majority of races put on us, in terms of being sexual human beings, and now we're putting this on this moment with this black man. And so now as a teacher, you got to be very careful how you even want to interact with your students, because somebody's going to jump on it and make it to be something that it's not. And over sexualizing something that really doesn't appear to be sexual. They're unbraiding his hair, and he made a thing about it. He got permission from other teachers or from whatever. And so it's just unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
And I've seen, because I like to chime in when I'm passionate about something. I won't just speak about something or comment if I'm not passionate about it. And I felt the need to chime in, and I had wrote like this long post, and he liked the post. And of course, you got people that's gonna respond, and some respond very angry. Some black men responded very angry to my comment.
What did you say?
Here's my thing. So I pretty much said, I cannot just sit and watch you guys drag my fellow educator, my fellow black male educator, and to create this innocent moment and to turn it into something that it isn't, based off of you projecting. Projecting, number one, you're responding based off your level of healing and or trauma, because a lot of times people are going to associate certain things with maybe what took place in their life, things that they've been exposed to, or how they actually act today. A lot of times these older guys have an intention. And because your intentions aren't always pure, doesn't mean it has to be every black man has the same intentions when it comes to the opposite sex. And not only that, even with some of the women that were responding, so I'm basically talking to everybody, because I'm like, a lot of y'all are projecting based off of how you acted when you were in middle school. A lot of times you were fast. And so because you know exactly what you was doing and how you were acting, you're projecting that behavior onto this situation. And it's the truth of the matter. Yeah. Because I remember being in the 6th grade and one of my good friends was having sex in the bathroom at the school. I remember being in the 7th grade and one of my good friends already had a 1-year-old daughter. Yeah. So I've been in spaces where I know that middle schoolers can be fast because I grew up with, but we can't project that onto everyone. We can't make that every single teacher-student relationship. You know what I mean? Everybody is not out here intentionally trying to sleep with their students. That's not what it is. And so I also said, you guys got to understand that teachers today are having a tough time establishing relationships with some of their students because students have changed. We're dealing with a different generation of kids. And so in order sometimes for us to make certain connections, we do certain things so that they feel more welcome. They feel like it's just not me being this authoritative figure and you have to do this, this, and this. And what I found out as an educator is when you make a student feel like they matter and you make them feel like they're seen and you make the environment feel like it's a special, fun environment, they perform better on tests. They are more apt to show up to class, to pay attention, to be involved, and you create this relationship. And it's kind of tough to not have a certain type of relationship with your students when you're passionate about what you're doing. I've been there before where I felt like, because I even said I may have crossed the line before by being so involved in my students' lives, like showing up to their birthday parties, dropping them off at home, showing up at the house to talk to their parents, and giving them my phone number because they needed somebody to listen to them when they felt hurt or they felt like they, were falling off the deep end. Like I may have, crossed the boundary before, but my intentions were always pure.
But I think here's the issue is these rules are in place to protect the children because some people don't have the best, intentions. And so sometimes we have these blanket rules just to protect everyone in mind. So even though I think in this instant it seemed innocent, I can see where you have certain rules and regulations in place where you're not supposed to invade teachers' personal space or students' personal space, just to protect everyone. and sometimes we do lose that sense of intimacy, not from a sexual standpoint, but with that connection, maybe between a teacher and a student because of those rules in place. But they have been in place because lines have been crossed.
Lines have been crossed.
Lines have repeatedly been crossed. So
Yes.
in order to protect, so I can see, where people are upset. I can see both sides. Like most things, I see both sides. This seems like a moment of innocence and a way to connect better with his students, engender trust. He's being vulnerable. He's allowing them to unbraid his hair. But on the flip side, let me ask you a question. If it was your daughter and she was in the 7th, 8th grade and, she was the one that was unbraiding this man's hair, would you feel differently? Would you feel differently?
So I'm going to answer that question. But I want to acknowledge the fact that I can understand if this is not the relationship that you want your child to have with their teacher. You're right to feel the way that you feel when it comes to that, right? From my understanding, those parents love the relationship that their students have with their teacher. They're aware of the relationship that they've built and the bond that they've created. That's from my understanding, right? So for me, the reason why I wouldn't have a problem with it is because I would be an active parent in the school. And what I mean by active is I would be on the PTA. I would have these relationships with my child's teacher to where I know what I'm dealing with. Like, who is this person?
You think
what I mean?
Know as much as you can.
As much as I can. But also, I've had the uncomfortable conversations with my daughter so that she knows how to be comfortable in situations. She knows what is for her and what is not for her. So as soon as you recognize something not being for you, to remove yourself. Like, I've prepared my daughter for situations, for scenarios, for different things. So it's more so.
Well, it could not even be about the teacher. It could be about the student. You can prepare your child for something, and then all of a sudden they're exposed to something, and it opens them up to something. And then now it's not even the teacher. It's more of the student and how the students feel.
May or may not feel. True.
So as well.
And we can't control if that is what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What I wanted people to do was, yes, I'm not taking away you being upset or you feeling some type of way. But there's an overall picture here that we're missing, which is, wow, they've clearly created a space where they have this relationship that is clearly nurtured and it's welcoming. It's a space that gives good energy. And I'm wondering if these kids are performing really well in this class because they seem to, have such a positive relationship with their teacher. Look at that. Look at that picture. Everything doesn't have to be negative. Even if you're like, oh no, not my child. You have a right. I'm never gonna tell someone. And it's funny because I just posted this about somebody else's video who posted, because all these people had something to say about what this other person said that they would not expose their child to, and everybody's offended by it. Like all these, so it's kind of weird. And so I posted like, you should never tell a parent how to govern themselves around their children, meaning the choices that they've made and how they want to show up in front of their child, because that is their decision, because they're doing what's best for them. In their mind, they're doing what's best for their child. As long as there's no hurt, harm, or danger, how dare you tell me how I should govern myself because you would do something differently. Guess what? Go have your own child and do something differently. But you cannot sweep around around my front door when you ain't got nothing to sweep around right now. Until you have your own child, you never understand why certain parents take a certain stance. So with that being said, with parents that are like, no, not my child, you have a right, because that is what you have put into place with your children. Like, not my child.
I disagree with that statement of you should never tell, because sometimes people just don't have the best lens, and yeah, they're doing the best they can, but sometimes it's helpful to have an outside perspective and give, more general perspective, because sometimes people are parenting from their place of trauma, from whatever it may be. And so you can communicate, you should be, as a parent, be open to advice and open to hear, open to grow, because we're not going to always get things right. So, and I also don't believe that if you don't have a child, you can't tell. You still can get constructive feedback. You could still.
But I'm saying that it wasn't constructive feedback, though. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying, but like,
it's negative.
Yeah, I didn't know. You said you could never, so it was such a blanket statement. But I think there are moments
unless
where you
it's hurt, harm, or danger.
because you can't give someone some advice that they might not, that they may be coming from a limited
If it's
perspective.
constructive,
Yeah.
I think welcoming constructive advice, but I'm basing it off of the comments that were not
Yeah.
constructive. It was all attacking. It was all saying, "Oh, this, that." Nothing was helpful. It was all. You would have to see it for yourself,
Okay.
but nothing was helpful at all. It was basically you're attacking this person for the decisions that they've made, and it took me back to a place where I decided myself that I wouldn't watch certain movies, certain TV shows, listen to certain music around my son. That was my decision. There's another parent that may do the same, that listen to certain music. They don't care, watch all the shows, and they don't care around their kids. That wasn't me. So then, if my son is spending the night somewhere and I'm telling this parent this is kind of how we operate, and I would like, for that to be what it is, I've now made you aware of how we operate, right? You don't have to like it. You can be like, well, that's not how we operate in my house. He can't spend the night. You have a right to do that. That is your lens. My lens is he's too young. I don't want to expose him to me arguing with nobody, fighting. I don't want to expose him to me having sex, and he can hear me from his room, and we in there having, I don't want to expose him to all of these things because I feel like, one, he's too young. Two, he's a sponge and he's soaking all this stuff in, and I'm trying to nurture him in a different way. It has nothing to do with trauma or drama. It's me parenting the best way that I want to parent my child. And that's what it is. And I feel like people nitpick that when you do not take their unsolicited advice, because a lot of it is unsolicited. Now, if I'm in a space where I'm like, you know what, I would love to get some advice, just I need a little bit of help, then of course I encourage it. And even if it's a situation where, somebody that's close to me can clearly see like he's struggling in a certain area when it comes to dealing with a situation with his child, maybe I can chime in. I welcome that as well. But honesty with compassion goes a long way. You cannot solicit your advice, and this is why I go back to, and you don't even have a child, so you don't understand the dynamic of that relationship. You don't understand how it's not as easy said and or done, because there's so many levels to relationship with your children that people that don't have a child understand, is all I'm saying. They don't fully understand those levels, because it's easier to be like, oh, just kick them out, when your heart is not emotionally invested, when you're not all the way tied and wrapped, within this situation with your kids. So yeah, things happen and people make it seem like it is that easy, but it really isn't. I think, and that's why I say, and I'm not saying you can't say nothing just because you don't have a child. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a lot deeper than what people make it seem. A lot of people are looking and giving advice from a surface level when it's way deeper than that when it comes to your kids.
Yeah, it was a blanketed statement, so I hear where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it was just based off of it not being constructive.
Yeah.
If you're going to solicit advice or have an opinion, make sure it's constructive. Don't base it off of, well, how you gonna do that? This is what I would. Well, if this is what you would do, have a child and do that. But as for me and my house, this is what's going on over here. And that's just how I feel in general across the board. My mama operates the same way. My aunties operate the same way. My uncle and them operate the same way. A lot of black people that I know operate the same way when it comes to their kids. My best friend operates the same way with her kids. And it's not a wrong way of operation when it's not a negative situation. Yeah. But if you're giving constructive advice, and you're being constructive and giving your opinion, and it's something that we can constructively talk about and maybe even dissect, that is welcomed. That is, because I give my mom constructive advice when it comes to my siblings. That's constructive. But I'm not telling her, oh, you're wrong. I would never do that. You're this or you're that, and there's a difference there.
Yeah, I agree.
There lies a difference.
Yes, for sure. I agree with that.
So that's the point that I'm making. And getting back to these parents that feel strongly about it, you're entitled to feel that way, because clearly you've had these conversations with your children and you conditioned them to be like, hey, I don't want you creating this type of relationship with your teachers. I don't want it to be this too close for comfort type of relationship. I don't want it to look, and I feel like there's a boundary being crossed. Because if that's the case, then, I wholeheartedly understand that. But again, from what I seen in that video, nobody's sitting in between nobody's legs. It's not a one-on-one hair session where it's just him and nobody else is in that room. There's other students in that room. The girls are there. They're talking. They're clearly, it's good energy. It does not look like it's inappropriate, right? But something can completely turn inappropriate when you get all of this influx of opinions. And that's exactly what happened. And he has lost his job.
Are you serious? So, do you think he lost his job because of the opinions of people?
Oh, absolutely.
Or did he lose his job? Or were there certain rules and regulations that he did not follow, and he crossed the line in that?
It's definitely based off of the opinions of people. One, I'm going to say because there were people saying you should lose your job. Two, he should be fired. Three, the video went viral to the point where Ricky Smiley was talking about it, and every last one of them had such strong opinions about it being super wrong, about it being they went on for 40 days and 40 nights to just beat this situation down. So when it gets reaches certain heights, now the school district is.
Yeah, they're involved. So we don't really know. It could be a mixture of both. Like, we can have an idea that people have put pressure on them to happen. It could be because of this. It could be also that there are rules, specific rules that he may have crossed, and he crossed those rules, and that's the reason. But this probably didn't help the situation. It definitely hurt the situation now that all this attention's around it, all this negativity surrounded it, so they felt like they had to do something. But there could have been just clear-cut rules there, and he broke them, and he got fired because he broke them.
Unfortunately,
we don't know.
I have not seen a rule that says anything like that in the teacher book of rules and regulations. What I have seen is you cannot put your hands on a student or you will be fired or investigated and removed until the investigation is completed and then let go. 9 times out of 10, they just let you go, even after the investigation is done. On the flip side of that, mind you, it's a black man, 3 black young girls, right? Go to the other side of TikTok and there are so many videos of the same thing. Not a black man, but there's black women, there's white women, there's a white teacher, I think I've seen an Asian teacher doing the same thing. There's a student cutting one of his teacher's hair. There's some girls taking out another teacher's braids. There's some other girls that's brushing their teacher's hair. There's all these videos. Where's the outrage? Why is there selective outrage? Why isn't there outrage for all of these teachers?
Because we already know it's a black man. That's the
and that's the point that I was trying to make in the post. I said the selective outrage is very interesting. Mind you, and one of the ladies who's in a video, she did a post on Facebook, and I love everything that she said. She said, "This is me with my students taking my hair out. Yeah. Why nobody saying anything to me?"
Like, and was it who was it? Girls taking her hair out or guys taking her hair out?
It was girls taking her hair out.
So I think the nature of being a grown man and 3 younger girls, that imagery is a bit different than like some girls taking their teacher's hair down as a female. It's a little bit different dynamic at play, even though, because we live in this heteronormative society, even though there could still be stuff at play. We don't know the sexuality of the teacher or the student or anything like that. So things still could be at play there as well. But I think because it's a man and it's a woman, even if it was I feel like if it was a woman and a black boy doing that, do you think it would be outraged too?
No. Because they look at that video and say, "Oh, they're taking her hair down." They look at his video, "Why you letting these girls play in your hair?"
Right.
And then you go back and look at some other comments and people updating their comments because they looked at some more of his videos and was like, "I think he a little this anyway, so he get a pass. He probably wanted the girls anyway." Yeah. So it's very interesting.
So I think the sexual nature, because it was opposite sex, as I'm saying, probably came into play in this specific situation.
And so then
also with the black, and also being a black man, we're overly sexualized.
But it's really because it's a black man, honestly.
Well.
And then what's been created within this culture of incest, of molestation, of pedophiles, of all of these different things. Everybody doesn't operate in that lane. And of course, it is better to be more on the safe side and the cautious side and to protect yourself and make sure that you're, making the right moves and creating the correct boundaries and having those relationships that are healthy And I genuinely feel like they all have a healthy relationship. So I hate to see this play out the way that it did. And again, I'm not taking away from anybody feeling like, oh, not my child, because that is your child. You are entitled to be like, my child could never. But at the same time, with all of these strong opinions, it would be so great that all of these strong opinions show up to all of the PTA meetings, to all of the district board meetings, to sit in, to show up to all of the school functions. Oh, be sure to show up when we have fundraisers, the supply drive, back to school night, parent teacher conference. We need volunteers for field trips. There's a lot of things where you should be able to show up and not always want to pick and choose when it's convenient for you to be outraged. I want you to be outraged and going all crazy at the PTA meetings and on the board.
Yeah.
On these district board meetings that they encourage these parents to show up to help with the book of policy, the guidelines and regulate. Show up to all of those things, the school calendar, the things that should be put into place. You know what I mean? Like, these people have strong opinions, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of these people don't even support the school system at all, or the teacher.
That's the nature of the society we live in. It's easier to voice your opinion on social media and feel like you've done something. That's what we think. We think we've really done something. We voice our opinion on social media. It could be helpful. There's also work to do in the community. People will voice their opinion on social media to vote and then not vote themselves. People will do all kinds of certain things. But taking certain actions, is important. But it's so easier just to click something, say Black Lives Matter, post some picture somewhere, than actually go in and do the work in the local jurisdictions, get involved with the local communities. We think we're really doing something by posting on social media. It's a step, but there's so much more to do.
It's just that line. It's that line. You draw the line at these students who clearly have a healthy relationship with their teacher, taking the hair down, but the line is not drawn with these younger students, middle school students who twerk at the school, who love them some sexy red, who's taking it to Pound Town, all of this stuff. Oh, there's no line there, but I draw the line when it comes to taking down the hair.
It's an artificial line. They pick and choose what they want to be upset about. And when they want to be upset about it, we already know that. That's why you should not care as much about people's opinion. Yeah. It's just so volatile, so fluid. It could change at any point in time. So the best thing is not to really care about people's opinion and be delivered from people's opinion, so you can be free. And unfortunately, this person, I think, was being free. I haven't seen the video, but from what Shad says and from the context of everything, it seems like this was just a really innocent moment. And we have to be able to be nuanced and think out and be able to think for ourselves. Yeah. Even if they do have this blanketed rule, is this that instance? Is this one of those instances where these kids are put at harm? Even though in general this may not appear to be the best thing, but is this a moment of connectivity? Is this something we should be really celebrating instead of just going really hard on this man? This man who, there's not a lot of Black men in education. Educators don't get paid a whole lot of money. That is, willing to be a involved teacher, willing to be vulnerable with his students, and probably thinking this is a great way to connect with my students. Yes, and all of a sudden he's being fired because of it. It's just that people that's not complex in their thinking. They're very just simple and narrow minded. Let's investigate this situation. Yeah. Now, this situation somewhere else may be something different, right? It may be something going on. But from the face of this looks to be very innocent, like these people are connecting. So we have rules in place, but I feel like there should be some level of judgment involved with those rules. Let's investigate further. We have these general rules, but it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. And again, people are always, you're going to be entitled to your opinion. Like you said, my favorite saying when it comes to stuff is, I'm not responsible for what anyone thinks of me. It's just not my business to care about what you assume and or think of me. I don't lose any sleep over it. I don't think about it, because those are just opinions of yours that have nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. I'm responsible for who I am and how I govern myself. I do hate that this was blown out of proportion. And again, I'm not taking away any parent's right to not want their child in that situation, to not want their child taking down a grown man's hair, a teacher's hair. That is your right of choice, and you are entitled to that. What I'm saying is, the bigger picture is, it did not have to be turned into something that it is not. I feel like it was an innocent moment that has quickly been turned into a sexualized moment that has now, the consequence of this is he's lost his job.
I don't know if I hate that yet. Only time will tell, because we never know how adversity shapes us, and never know where this may lead him. Another door may open up for him to do something even greater. And this was really the catalyst. So only time will really tell. And sometimes things happen for a reason. If he truly was innocent, if he truly had pure intentions, I pray that someone sees that and another door opens at another private school or him have a greater platform. So sometimes these things we think are negative, they are negative in the moment, but they can catapult us somewhere else to on a different trajectory, to be something greater, to do something greater, to maybe not even be in the school system where things are so limited. Maybe he takes it to another area where he can really truly express himself and really connect with the kids even on a deeper level. Right, so it does seem negative, but we don't know how things play out,
Because what God has for you is for you.
Yeah, amen.
And sometimes it takes, a negative to turn into a positive. And I will say this before anybody jumps in here and be like, well, have you seen any of these other videos? And I have seen his other videos. And so what you have to start doing also, because this was thrown in there too, is look at his other videos. There's life outside of teaching.
Yeah.
We're still human beings outside of being educators and working in the school. The teacher that shows up Monday through Friday is not the same teacher on Saturday and Sunday. So just because he's doing other adult things, as far as like some of his content, and I'm not saying explicit things, I'm just saying he's an adult, so some of his content is adult driven. That has nothing to do with who he is on a Monday through Friday basis as a teacher in the career that he's chosen.
It's so sad. People are multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
And even as a parent, like there's certain things we're not going to expose our kids to, but we may go out and go to brunch and turn up, but we're not going to allow our kids to see that. Allow people
Absolutely.
to be multi-dimensional. You're a multi-dimensional person.
The person that's made
Right.
the comment, you're multi-dimensional.
Right.
Because I bet you don't show up sloppy drunk to work on Monday, but you sloppy drunk soon as happy hour come on Friday.
Right.
Where's the difference?
Yeah, we're just so judgmental and sometimes don't even look at ourselves. What are we doing? And I think those people really looked at themselves and how they live outside of their job. The things they do outside their job. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want their job to know what they're doing on every weekend or see whoever they're sleeping with, all these other things. So we just need to give space for people to be human.
And sweep around your own front door before you sweep around anybody else's. Sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine. Mm-hmm. Sweep around your own front door. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that can be said about the situation, and I empathize with him because I'm sure, he probably didn't think it was going to blow up the way that it did. It blew up really fast. Within 2 days, it just took on a life of its own. And in one moment, they had had him maybe suspended. And then he came back, made a video, and I guess they completely let him go. But it just took on a life on its own. It went quick. It went really, really fast. Like, it just picked up all over. And I know he had posted some letters that his students had wrote. Like, they just miss him, in the classroom. They miss seeing his face, and they hope that he comes back soon. But
that's the problem also, and it could be because of the pressure that the decision was made so quick, and the local district felt the need to respond rather than let things play out. We live in a society, we don't let things play out. We feel the pressure, the urgency to respond right away, and rather let the facts come out. And let's do deep investigation of what is happening, but we feel like we have to respond right away. Even in business sometimes it's good just to be able to take time to dissect, to reflect, to think, to investigate, and then respond, and not just respond emotionally,
And again, I say, not everybody has negative or ill intentions. And I know we can't put stuff past people, but we also can't live in a world of fear, fearing that someone is always going to do something to us, or they're out to get us, or they're out to betray us, or violate us, or cross boundaries. We don't want to also instill this fear in our kids as well, but we want to teach them train up a child in the way they should go, and when they go, oh, they will not depart from it. So we want to make sure that we're doing our part so that sometimes, so that they can also have discernment and that they're also able to recognize some things as well. And that's all that we can do, because we can't be everywhere, but we can prepare them as much as we can to equip them with the tools and knowledge to make smart decisions and smart choices. And I would love to really hear what the parents have to say of these girls, and what their true feelings are about their situation. I feel like I have not seen anything from, I think, one of the girl's sisters who spoke out and was like, I seen the video and I had to look again and realize that was my sister in the video. And they have such an amazing, what people don't know is they have such an amazing relationship. Like, he's such a dope teacher, like he's amazing. And, you know, the kids really love him and they respect him. And so I seen that, but I would love to hear what the parents have to say, to really get a more of a, you know, a better idea of just the stance that they have when it comes to this. Because we have all the outside opinions, but how do you guys feel? It's your children, you know him as their teacher, and how do you truly feel about it? But again, we're not taking nothing away from a parent's right to not want their child in a certain situation or doing certain things, because you're entitled to that. What I am truly saying is the overall picture, and the overall picture is building relationships with students, making connections in a certain type of way, because we're not dealing with the traditional students anymore. You know, we're dealing with Gen Z who need a little bit more to keep their attention. Like they want to feel like they matter in some type of way. They want to feel like it's just not you coming at me all the time, and this is what school is all about, because they get burned out. If they don't feel like they're connecting in some type of way, they will get burned out. And it's just interesting. And the whole situation is just very interesting. But we want to come in and, you know, give our point of view. And you may agree or you may disagree. Or, I don't know, you know, whatever the case may be.
Kick rocks if you don't agree.
No, not
really. we can handle dissenting points of view. I mean, that's the world that we live in, and we should be able to have those dissenting points of view and be able to embrace it and be able to have a healthy dialogue so we can learn from each other.
Yeah, and that's what I would appreciate it, because I wasn't attacking anyone in my post, right? I was giving a response based off of a lot of the negative responses. So a response back that could have been constructive, I would have accepted and welcomed the conversation. But you can't immediately come in on 10 because you don't know what the F you talking about. You ain't got no daughters, like just assuming also that I don't have a kid. And you're so passionate about your stance and I'm taking that away from you, but have a conversation so that you can fully understand, because I always say this, I don't have to like it. Nobody has to like it, but I want to be able to understand it. It's not always about liking something, but if you can understand it, I think that's better than to just be like, well, I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand your point of view and I understand why you feel so strongly about it. Yeah. And that's it. So let us know how y'all feel about, if you've heard about this, and just, you know, overall, everything that we said, hopefully you are listening to understand, so that when it's time to respond, you're using honesty with compassion and you're articulating your thoughts in a way where, you know, we completely understand your stance. Whether you agree or disagree or in between or whatever the case may be, drop down in the comments and let us know. We want to read everything so that we can respond and create the dialogue of how can we get to a healthier place and not see everything as just being sexualized or harmful or dangerous and negative. I don't like this space that we're in, but then letting our kids have access to the Zeus network and what's now on TV or whatever, and you get to watch the baddies and they're watching all these girls fighting on a daily basis, and the bad boys, and they fighting and they sexy red and pound town and they city girls and twerk and real men and everything is about money, PUSSY and
sex.
Yeah, and we don't draw the line when it comes to none of those things. and you'll see a video of a class full of kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, singing Made for Me, not knowing what the song is about, but know it word from word. You know what I'm saying? But there's no line drawn. But we draw the line here. And again, we're all entitled to draw a line somewhere, but I'm just saying the selective outrage is always very interesting when there's multiple videos of the same thing happening, but it's not a black man. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. And we thank y'all for tuning in. Till next time, take care of yourself and each other. Peace out.